So let's get another angle to these potential tariffs on Canada and Mexico. And one way to look at it, which quite frankly I didn't think about, was insurance. Matt Palazzoa is senior analyst of P&C Insurance for Bloomberg Intelligence. He joins us now from the Interactive Broker Studio. So honestly, the insurance business was like off my bingo card list of like sectors and stuff to watch today. What's the direct correlation between a tariff and insurance?
So we're specifically focusing on auto insurance in this note, but all kinds of goods go into building materials that will impact insurance because they impact repairs. So we specifically looked at auto parts. About 50% of the imported auto parts in the country come from Canada and Mexico. There's also all kinds of interplay between the US and the other two countries where parts go in between, and parts that get put into cars come from the countries. So what will happen is those cars get damaged, the parts cost more to replace, thus the insurance companies will lose more money and they may have to raise premiums.
I guess one of the questions we have for pretty much everybody who comes in here talks about the impacts of tariffs on their businesses. We ask, what percent of those incremental costs do the companies eat? How much do they pass along to consumers in terms of higher prices?
So I think initially the insurance companies would eat most of it. So they can't just raise prices if they want to. Insurance is regulated on a state-by-state basis. So if I want to raise prices, I have to ask the state regulators to do that. What happened post-COVID was we saw this big spike in auto insurance costs anyway, which led these companies to raise prices a lot. The auto insurance industry has kind of gotten back to decent profitability, which I would think gives them a little space to absorb these losses and would reduce the likelihood of regulators to allow them to raise prices.
Oh, right. So how does that work? So like for insurance, they have to go through the government or the state to be able to raise those prices? I was having the same conversation when it comes to regulated utilities today, too.
Yep. So every state has a Department of Insurance. Every state has a different way of doing it, but there's several ways, and a lot of states use the same. So you'd have to go in and say, we need to raise rates this much. And they would say, well, why? And you said, because our costs went up. So you can't just want to make more money. You need to have a rationale for it. And some of the states like California actually pushed back a lot on that in the past couple of years. Like some of the states were, some companies were saying, we need to actually raise prices 30% because we're losing so much money. And the state said no, and then they would say, okay, maybe you could do 7%, maybe you could do 10%. So that actually led to states threatening to pull out, or companies threatening to pull out of those states. So that's the way it goes. So you kind of have to prove that your costs went up, and then they allow you an acceptable margin.
What's the time frame for that? Like, how quickly can they do that?
So they can do it. They can file quickly. I think that the process will take. It took a year in California to get the prices, but that was exceptionally long. So it could probably take several months.
It's so interesting because I was talking about this in terms of utilities too. Because think about it. If say I'm a utility plant in Maine and I get hydropower from Canada and you tax that, can I pass that right through, or is it like a long process? Apparently, because it's considered fuel price, you can pass that right through. Like it'll be a really quick kind of thing, goes right to the consumer. Very similar. What companies are in your crosshairs right now, Matthew?
So we're looking at there's two big public personal lines insurance companies. That's Allstate and Progressive. We did some rough math, top down and bottom up, and we said if these come to pass, it's probably like a 10 to 15% earnings hit, but there's so many moving parts that's a really rough number. The stocks were selling off kind of anyway. Out of the two of those, I would say Progressive is probably better positioned. We just talked about the rise in loss costs earlier, and Progressive handled that a lot better. So those are the two major public companies that I think this would impact, with Progressive being favored.
Progressive is very big in motorcycle insurance. So when I got the Vespa, when I got the Vespa cruising up and down the Jersey Shore, Progressive is my insurer there. They came in with a great...
Well, that's a known risk, though, so you're okay.
Known risk.
Speaking of insurance companies, so we've just recently had commercials on streaming. So it's like a new thing for my daughter because she's never had regular TV. And she can sing all the jingles, and she's all into Allstate, Progressive, and there's one more.
Nationwide.
Yes.
So
why are the insurance companies so good on advertising?
I think Progressive was pioneering that, right?
Flow.
And it's with Flow, right? So, right off the top of your head, because it's a commodity product, right? I mean, so you kind of look at it on price, and Progressive kind of came out with this, and Geico did it too with the cavemen and that stuff.
Yep.
And they really hit that niche of being able to differentiate this commodity product, and you actually saw them cut back on a lot of this advertising over the past couple of years. I don't know if you noticed it, but even if you're watching football on Sunday, you were seeing a lot less insurance
like even
ads.
The Allstate guy?
The Allstate guy, I don't know where he is now. But they ratcheted it back up. Progressive did, because now they're actually getting back into price competition. So these companies love to compete away excess profits. They will do it. That's their favorite pastime. So I'm seeing maybe a little bit of that happening already, but this will throw a whole new monkey wrench in it.
It's so interesting. My daughter would literally run from her room into the living room to sing the Allstate theme. We're like, wow, I don't know what this means. This is weird and great advertising. Good job there, guys. All right, Matthew, thanks so much. Matthew Palazzoa, Bloomberg Intelligence Senior Analyst for PNC Insurance.